Energy. It is all around us, both seen and unseen. It affects all the lives within humanity, our great planet Earth, and the entire universe. It is a conscious cosmic matrix, an ever-evolving cycle, creating, breaking down, and recreating. This is Connected with your host, Andrea Dragonfly. Andrea tells us that energy is the foundation of our human experience, intrinsically affecting every facet of our lives, our perceptions, choices, and actions, as well as the challenges, opportunities, and people we attract. So now, please welcome the host of Connected, Andrea Dragonfly.
Hey world, welcome to season 2 of the show called Connected. I'm your host, Andrea Dragonfly. I feel very honored and privileged to come back for a second season, as there's so much to talk about when we talk about being connected to the fabric of the universe, right? So there's just lots of things for us to discover, explore, play with, all of that good stuff. And so it is, again, a pleasure to start off with season 2. This is a live show, so there are no edits. There's no cleaning up certain things that maybe I, fumbled out of my mouth or whatever. This is just the raw, real communications of ponderings of the cosmos and the consciousness of all of the unseen energies that are directly playing out in our lives, whether we are aware of it or not. So, this is a show that really is an invitation. It's an invitation for you to receive this information. The information that's coming to you is my life's study of everything from wisdom traditions from around the world, deeply steeped in the esoteric Western mysteries, as well as shamanic indigenous, as well as Christianity, um, playings and ponderings of Eastern philosophies, yet working with some profound teachers over my lifetime, and then also directly connecting into the stream of consciousness as well. And of course, there's so many people today that are coming in to creating these relationships. There's so many people that are already deeply, profoundly connected in and have been living long lives of spiritual studies and as teachers and masters and whatnot. And so I am one of the great students of life who are bringing forth this information, because I've had 30 plus years of deep relationship with the unseen energies. And it's even the unseen energies that have had me doing this podcast in the first place. Because I'm not into podcasting for fame or glory or whatever people are doing. It's really just about delivering information. And it's really about delivering information on a level that there is this unseen energy that lives all around us. And it's definitely existing in everything that is alive. And in my first season, I started to talk about us. When we talk about connecting into everything, where does a person even begin? So this is how I was starting to kind of move into, how do I even do season 1? How do I talk about our relationship to everything around us? So season 1 was really about starting with ourselves, starting with, who are you? Who am I? And that we are all incredibly diverse individuals. We're all our own unique masterpiece of what I would call energy alchemy. And even with energy alchemy, that means that we're all going to experience the world differently based on how our wiring, how our energy makeup comes together. Some some people are going to have very strong, senses of business, or some might be very, adept in the arts, and so we all have our unique play in the world, what we're interested in, what we are gifted with. Also, what we're going to be challenged by. So we all come into the world with gifts. The gifts that oftentimes are probably at the foundation of your profession for many of you, maybe not. But the gift to be of service, the gift to be able to speak to others, to help people move through very difficult times of challenge and adversity, or maybe gifted with your hands and building and creating, gifted with plants and all sorts of things. And so medicine, our interest in wanting to dive into, engineering and all of the different types of professions that are out there. These are, somewhere in that is, the makeup of your energy alchemy. It's about what draws you in to wanting to be in that industry, right? And so we have our energy alchemy. And again, what's going to bother us? For some people, certain aspects of, a person's personality can be a trigger for somebody to be like, "Oh, I don't like that person," where another person would be like, "Oh my God, I love that person," right? So how we are how we're engaging the world around us as well. And I really started the beginning of season 1 looking at how our lens of the world is going to be uniquely different, and that what is true for us is going to vary. And when I started my journey, I came out of high school and I was seeking truth. And I shared maybe in the first or second episode of season 1 that when I was in 3rd grade, I had an angel come into my being and tell me to question everything. That what I was being shown was only just a part of the truth, just like a slice of the truth, which kind of helped form me in my younger years to be I was already curious, but it really kind of activated that curiosity. And so as I moved out into the world, I was seeking truth. And once I took that first step, it's almost like the carpet rolled out and it was just one step after another, meeting all sorts of different people, different belief systems. And what I've come to learn is that we're all at different levels of truth. That truth is relative. Truth is subjective. That what might be true for me right now may not be true for you right now. And that sometimes we have to go through these different steps and feeling out different bits of energies, letting information come into our energy field and inform us. And then when we're like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, I think that feels right." And when the energy comes in and informs us and we start to find that there's a truth there, our body energy resonates with that. It has a resonance, like a vibrational energy. At least that's how many people experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way to experience, but that we come into this place that we feel like it's fitting us. It's kind of like trying on something. And when you find that fit, you're like, "Oh yeah, this fits. This feels good." And when we are open to new ideas and new philosophies, stories that can lead us down these paths, what happens is it opens and expands us to so much more information. So it's the expansion of information. And that when we are growing up in our lives, we're really given only so much information about our immediate living situation. What kind of family did you grow up? What was your neighborhood like? What was your school like? What was the information from the community that was coming to you? Did you grow up in a religious environment or a non-religious environment? Were you, in a war zone? Were you in a very comfortable neighborhood that was very privileged and protected from some of the outside struggles of other people's, experiences. And so this is how we build our lens to the world. And that what we're exposed to is going to help us create that vision of what is real and what's not real, or what is true and what's not true. In season 1, I talked about how for some people, like even talking about ghosts, some people don't believe in ghosts because they haven't had an interaction with them. And even sometimes there's that person who's never believed in a ghost before, and then they have an experience of meeting a ghost, and it forever changes them. So it's really about, what are we exposed to? What have we experienced firsthand? And so with season 1, it was really looking at our own experiences to the world around us. The title of this show is The I and the All. And it's really kind of a bridge between looking at season 1 and looking at ourselves. What's your personal experience to the world around you? How have you been engaging with it? What do you see as true? And is that true, a small t, which means a small truth is true for you? And then there's what's true with a capital T, a truth, maybe a universal truth. And that's true for the collective. So that's the I is me, the small t. And the capital T is a truth for the greater good of everybody. Everybody can tap into that. And we will be looking at some of these throughout season 2. But again, with season 1, really it was about our own individual I experience with the world around us. And in doing so, I talked about how, and even in the intro to the show, about how there's seen and unseen energies that are all around us, and that they're bringing us to different people, to different situations, scenarios, that we are a complex matrix of energy, and that we carry forth these imprints that if we have to work, if we haven't worked them out, they're going to show up in our lives. And usually these are imprints that can be areas of disempowerment in this lifetime. Areas where we are working on building our voice, really needing to stand strong in who we are, really claiming our personal sovereignty or right to be treated well or be respected. There's many different areas where we engage in the world, whether it's the workplace, out even just going to the grocery store, whatever, different community interactions where we may be challenged by different people. And that challenge brings up information about, oh, I wasn't respected, I wasn't treated well, I felt, embarrassed or something. There's some sort of energy there that has us feel into that space within us that has this, I'm going to call it incompleteness. There's like, if only I did this differently, if only if I stood in my power more when I was in that conversation, but not being angry, but being kind and generous about clarifying, redirecting energy, being able to address situations that can be disempowering, even if it's with a boss or a supervisor or some other colleague within the workforce or the community, and just being able to lovingly stand in one's power. And so these are the imprints that carry with us, that if we've been, at the effect of them, if something had happened, we talked about soul loss in the first season, and that sometimes a trauma will happen where a part of our soul will turn offline. It's not active. It's not, with us as we're interacting with the world around us. And so we're operating at a deficit. We're not our full, complete selves. And that soul loss is an opportunity for us to learn about our human experience and the human condition of what humanity is all about. So it's within looking at how we experience the world, our challenges, as well as our successes, as well as the different people that we bring into our lives. Some people go through life and they kind of sort of pick the same partner, and maybe that relationship lasts for a period of time and then it ends, and then they pick a partner very similar, and then that relationship goes on for a significant amount of time and then it ends. Or maybe not, maybe it's less time. But they might be picking the same partner because the partner is reflecting something in them, the mirror, that they're needing to look within themselves to acknowledge that maybe there's something that's totally out of balance and we're needing to bring that piece back into balance. And so with this energy alchemy, all of this is part of a divine design. That, again, there's 52 episodes in season 1. So one kind of show led into another show. And starting again with our own individual experience to the world around us, looking at the seen. And then I bring in the unseen. And that there are these different energy allies that are there working with us. These energy allies can be our angels. There's all sorts of different types of angels that we can be working with. These energy allies can be what we'd call guides and guardians that are coming from, different places within the cosmos even. Some of these can also be earth-centered conscious energies that are coming from the land guardians, coming from plants, minerals, the animal kingdom, and the nature spirit kingdom. And so there's consciousness all around us. And I was really weaving those pieces together for season 1. This is our I experience. What are you connected to? How do we expand that connection and be curious and to see what else can we connect to? Talk about who's on your team. And we can look at who's on your team physically in the seen world, yet who's on your team in the unseen world, and being able to build relationships. I spoke earlier in season 1 about energy is all about relationships, or energy consciousness is all about relationships. And so we're going to take a break here. And when we get back, I'm going to dive a little bit more deeply into that. But I want to remind everybody that this is a live show. If you have questions and you want clarifications, you can even text it through Facebook to the comments. I can read them there. If you'd like to phone call in, we have the phone number at the top of the screen. And I would love to hear your voice, love to be able to answer your questions. And this can really be, a very interactive show if you would like for it to be. So I encourage that. There are no stupid questions. When we're starting to talk about consciousness, it's so big and vast, and there's so many ways to look at it that there's no stupid questions. There's just multiple ways that we can look at it. So we're going to jump back into this conversation as soon as we come back for the break. So take 2, and I'll see you back here.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense Radio Show with host Dr. Broderick. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back. So I was just talking to the engineer team on the commercial break. And so I'd just like you all to know that I'm on the big island of Hawaii. I am in the east side of the island in an area called Pahoa. So it's a little town on the east side. And I am moving about. I am a transient woman. I'm here for a work project, which I started talking about at the very end of season 1, that I was called to come to Hawaii for this project. And so throughout the show, throughout second season, who knows where I'm going to be? So the backdrop will constantly be changing. This is a house I'm renting for the summertime, so I'll definitely be here for 3 months, and then we'll see what happens after that. So just kind of sharing a little background of how things are moving for me. That's where things are going. So, and by all means, it's always a pleasure just to bring this information wherever I am. If this information is meaningful, if you find value in it, I invite you to pass it on to the people in your life. I also invite you to thumbs up it or like it or subscribe to the channel. I have my own personal YouTube channel going on at the same time at YouTube at Andrea Dragonfly. I'm on the Bold Brave TV Network's YouTube channel as well. However, we're on a separate channel because there's some issues with the first channel. So if you save it, just know that sometimes there's the main channel is usually up and operating, but at this moment we had to do a back channel, and it's kind of complicated and I don't have all the answers to that. But of course you can always stream it through Facebook and Instagram, or not Instagram, but LinkedIn and some of the different channels as well. So yes, that is that. So working back into energy consciousness, working with who's on your team. The seen and the unseen forces are always with us. And learning how to build these relationships, because life is about relationship. Even if we look at our lives and how you're engaging the world, we have different levels of relationship and how we engage, right? We have our inner circle, we have our family, we engage and have those types of relationships, and then we have, so let's just start with our family, right? We have those relationships, and then we have our inner circle of friends. These are the ones that meet our conditions of love, unconditional love, conditional love. Like, we choose our friends because they feel good and they treat us well. And then we have a greater community that we step into, and those, we're engaging and we're having relationship with those people in our own different ways. We have relationships within the workforce, whatever your work is, or, whatever you put your time and energy into. maybe, we're all up to stuff in life, right? So it's really our engagement. And every person we come to, even though they may be a stranger, there's an interaction with them. And it's the ability to relate with them, right? Can you relate with them? Can you not relate with them? Can you be nice when you're relating with them? Or, is there some nastiness that comes out in the relating with each other? So it's really about, bringing the consciousness in to how we are in relationship with the world around us. So how am I relating to the person at the gas station? How am I relating to the person, in the community that is, tends to be a little bit of a, challenging person, right? How am I relating to my own children or my other family members? And so when we work with conscious energies, we can also work with the world around us, the way we eat our foods. I did a show on energy consciousness with the way that we eat, and even praying over your food. If you know that something isn't really the best for your body, but it's the only food you have access at the moment, you can just do a small little prayer and ask it to feed your body in the best possible way that it can, and then create that relationship with your body and be like, body, this is what we have available for us right now. And it may not be the best thing for you, and I love you, right? Talking to our bodies, creating that relationship. But let's work together here. Working with our medicines, I talk about herbs and about being able to work with when a person's sick. If you want to go to the health food store, you can buy different types of herbal medicines. And what's beautiful about the herbal realm for medicine is we build direct relationship with the consciousness that lives within those plant medicines. We can ask them for what it is that we want. We can ask them to help us heal certain areas of whatever we're experiencing within our bodies. We can do the same thing with our foods, right? And so we're also looking at how when we develop these relationships and they become kind of like our friends. This is the invitation. Look at that. Like they're our friends. And we can build a beautiful relationship. They are here as conscious allies to help us. It's only over the last couple hundred years it's also only over like the last 100 years in particular, that we've gotten far away from natural medicines and have gone definitely down the pharmaceutical track. And the pharmaceutical track actually takes away our relationship to the conscious energies that are from the cosmos. All pharmaceuticals are also made out of plant, animal, mineral. I believe, and even if there's like bacteria, fungi, and things like that, they live in that, And so, but when we can have direct relationship with it, and we can have our own unique experience, we can heal ourselves much faster. This is where we begin to take control back of our own lives. This is what our allies do. Is they're here to help us walk through a crazy world that is trying to take away our power. They come in to try to help us find it again. And this season 2, we're really going to be looking at the all. We're going to be looking at how we're going to go from the I in season 1 connecting into the all of season 2, and what is the cosmos really about? How does it work? How are these relationships available? Who are we? Where did we come from? What are we doing? What's our mission? What's our purpose? Where are we going? So we're going to dive deep into the exploration of course, the biggest questions that humanity's always had through, whether it's philosophy or religion, trying to be able to make sense of what our human lives are all about. And right now, the world is very much shifting and changing. And so it's a perfect time for us to really step back in to a place of our own personal empowerment. A time for us to look around when inflation is super high and everything is so expensive to say, well, what can I do that actually brings power back to me? How can I relate with the world, with the energies around me that's going to support me in living my best life? That's going to support me in getting where I know I want to go, and I'm going to get there. I just don't know how I'm going to get there right now. So using these conscious energies to really walk us through to our successes. And of course, once we get one success, we're on to the next one, right? Because that's what it is to be human. We're always, even if success for some people is just to find peace, ease, and flow in a beautiful life that's deeply connected. That's one of the things that I want for myself. Doesn't mean that that's what everybody wants for themselves. Everybody has a different agenda in the world. Yet we are all unique, and that agenda comes with the human experience. It comes with, again, who are we? Where did we come from? What are we doing? And so this season will definitely be broken down into looking at this far deeper than I had gone in season 1 even. But also looking at some of the creation stories, ones that we're not familiar with. So it might challenge you to be like, okay. But I am going to leave resources. Resources will certainly be on my website. After each of the shows, I'll have if I'm talking about certain information and I have resources to go along with it, everything will be listed there so that there's easy access. Just be like, season 2, episode 4, resources that can bring you into further literature, studies, possibly, YouTube videos or any of those types of things. And so being able to invite you to explore this more deeply and try it on. Again, I always say that this is information to try on, to inform your consciousness. We all come together at different levels of consciousness. I was using the definition, and I think I'm just sort of making this definition up, but you can certainly look it up, on the interwebs, the internet, about like consciousness. Like when I'm thinking about consciousness, like what are you conscious of? What are you conscious of? What's your relationship to it? And so, some people are conscious about, energy like myself. Some people are conscious on, they're connected to knowing certain skills and traits in their workforce. Now, I don't know how to perform brain surgery, but a brain surgeon certainly is connected and conscious of all the steps and everything you need to know about performing that successfully, right? So what are you connected to? Are you aware of and connected to? See if I can get my words out there a little bit more clearer. And so again, this opportunity for us to really dive in and expand our connections. And again, we grow when we're uncomfortable. It's through the uncomfortable that we're growing and expanding. And sometimes that uncomfortable will take a little time to work through it. It can take anything from hours to days to weeks to months to years. So there's no one way. There's no one way to do it right. There's just your way. And this is a show that is really about inviting it for you to do it your way. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just bringing information that says, hey, play with this, try this on. And I, within these last 6 weeks, because I took a 6-week break since the last episode 52 of season 1, and I had plenty of things I needed to do. I went to the mainland to take care of closing my old chapter, closing down a chapter of my last 30 years in the Front Range of Denver, Colorado, and moving on, and not really knowing exactly where the world's going to take me, but being open to where I'm going to go. And so within that last 6 weeks, even just how much information I've been exposed to that I'm bringing into this next season. We're going to be talking about AI a lot, and the sentience of AI and what's happening with the energies. And of course, we have great benevolent energies that are here to aid us as our allies. However, we live in a dualistic world. So even though we have benevolent allies, we also have the malevolent allies, the ones that are constantly testing or that are tricking or that are really kind of out for, destroying. I'm going to use that word. That's a good word for some of that. They're a destructive nature. And so when I say destructive nature and destroying, sometimes they want to they want to break us down. They want to make us feel less than. They are these entity energies that can kind of glob onto us. They can really take like addiction and really move it forward and get a person deeply addicted into certain types of substances or alcohol or, pornography or gambling or, things that are not good for one. So that's a destructive nature that's actually bringing somebody into the opposite direction of them having their greatest life, right? So looking at this, but there's also the ones I talked about, Ahriman. And Ahriman is that force that is a spiritual force, but it's about perception. It's about something that we are really working with on a mental level. And it's about separation, isolation. It has an oppressiveness to it. It really works with the isms of the world, about everything from, classism, racism, ageism, like any kind of separation where, there's a collective belief that there's something that's better than something else or whatever that is. And that's not the path of where we're going if we want to ascend into our greatest selves. So there's a whole conversation about the ascension. And we're going to be talking a lot about that here in season 2 as well. So really this show today, the podcast is really just blending the bridge of our I individuality and how we're moving into the all. And then season 2, I'm really going to be working with the interplay of how the cosmos really is permeated through everything that's happening on the planet. All of these challenges that we're up against, everything from politics, everything from technology, everything from, how we're experiencing fear or how we're experiencing empowerment even, right? And so, there's all sorts of huge movements that are happening on the planet right now, conscious movements, and other ones are kind of movements of wanting to, hate groups and things like that are more destructive and harder for us to find our center and find our power when we're being kind of confronted with it. And then we have that Luciferic energy as well. And in the Luciferic energy, this is that energy that is kind of sort of talked about as original sin, and it's the temptation. It's the temptation for the want of oneself over recognizing that whomever you're taking from, that they don't matter or it doesn't matter. Or, and so this can come into everything from like stealing or vandalism or, unconsented types of abuses to people. Sexual abuse is kind of what I'm looking at, or having some sort of sexual violation. other types of abuses that could just be physical, emotional, mental. So there's a lot financial abuses, right? And so these are luciferic energies, again, discussed more in depth around this topic in season 1. But we're going to be looking at how we're very much interacting with these energies every single day. And the more that we can become conscious to it, the more we can recognize that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our last break for this podcast. And then when we come back, I'm going to dive back into that and really kind of wrap up season 1 and how we're moving into season 2 and where we're going to be going from there. So just whatever you need to do, I'll see you back here in 2 minutes.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. Okay, so as we are coming to the last part of today's podcast, just looking at how these energies are all around us. I was talking about the harmonic forces of just the way that even culture and society and news media and all of that kind of tries to influence how you feel or even sometimes oppress us in the ways that, like business and government might be, operating. It's like we're going to really look deeper. I started talking about this on a surface level, but inviting the deeper conversation. So these shows are going to be probably, working on a certain topic for a couple shows in a row since we only have an hour, but really being able to bring you into a deeper understanding, inviting you to see things from different angles, try certain things on, understand where things might be coming from, right? And then also that luciferic energies and recognizing how, some energies might be of the harmonic, more of this energy that's just kind of pushing at you from outside. And then other energies will be coming from inside people, not necessarily you, but other people that you're engaging with. Other people that are wanting from themselves and not caring about anybody else, right? And if we're going to come together, we're coming together. This is a time for us to come together in unity, for us, for the people to rise. There's all sorts of conversations about how this is the people's revolution, about Pluto just came into Aquarius, just very recently. There's so many big planetary shifts that are happening with the zodiac right now, moving into Aries, which is the beginning of the new zodiacal cycle. And so there's just lots of really yummy, juicy things for us to just to dive into and really kind of explore on those levels. Um, One thing for me to share is that within my work, I said that, I've been on this path for 30 years specifically, 30 plus years specifically. I've worked with some incredible wisdom teachers from all around the world, from North America, Central America, South America, and over in Europe as well. I am a student of the Western esoteric, Western mystery schools, really diving in. I'm always a student. I'm always remembering, bringing the information forward. There's a lot of lost, hidden, buried information that is coming up to the surface. And I've been looking and studying this for the last 20 years, that now's the time for humanity to receive it, because humanity hasn't always been ready to receive it. We're also at a time where there's so much misinformation, but there's also information where we just have huge chunks, pieces missing from it. Even just in like you know, how are humans created? And I've studied the esoteric Christianity to really look at the deeper understanding of what the Bible even talks about, if you have a Christian background and you're familiar with that, but bringing these things forward and looking at them deeply, maybe over a couple of weeks even, so that we can have more of a understanding that we've never had access to before. Mainstream, humanity isn't privileged to have this information, but now we're shifting into a whole new phase of humanity. And this is the stuff that's coming up. And of course, I'm incredibly honored to be one of those people to just bring the information to you, and then what you do with it, whether you see it as a truth or you believe in it, is all up to you, right? I'm not saying this is what you have to believe. I'm just saying that this is an opportunity to get this information and do with it what you will. Also, working with dark energy. When we come into being able to be leaders of conscious information, one of the things is that we have to really understand the darkness. And it's, and we can look at darkness in many different ways, because not all darkness is bad. Darkness of the earth, the darkness, even in, looking at duality, light and dark. Like, darkness certainly has the incredible place of the unknown. But when I'm speaking of like more of a malevolent nature or an evil nature or a disruptive or an unhelpful, or, there's many words we can place on this. This is the shadow stuff that comes up. This is about really understanding the shadow side of the human experience, and that these shadow energies are very much spiritual energies that have a very significant role in our development. So it's really important to know that, because throughout our history, we don't talk about those things. It was almost like, oh my God, we can't talk about it because maybe something like that will happen to me. We're moving into a time of humanity where it's essential for us to understand these things. And I'm going to weave it just as much into this new season and normalize it, because it's exactly what we've been missing for so long, that we just don't necessarily always understand how it's all working. The path of the initiate, so back in the wisdom schools, the Western mystery schools, this is Plato, this is, like Socrates and Plato, and, a lot of, Aristotle and whatnot, they were on the path of the initiate. They were on the path of really needing to work with the spirit consciousness to understand what the cosmos is really all about and how we interact with it. And so there's some of our earlier teachers, of course, throughout time. Yet it's within these places that for us to be able to bring this information, there's like, sometimes you have to go through the initiation. And so the initiation is like walking and knowing and working. And even for myself, I spent years working with dark energies, starting in my dream time, and looking at how to work with these kind of these entity attachments and how they work, working with, again, many teachers to understand it even more deeply, but working with it even in my own relationship. How these attachments can come and attach into a person, how certain wounds and traumas that we've experienced throughout our lives create an energy opening for these attachments to come in. So I will still be weaving a lot of the shamanic indigenous ideology, cosmology, the belief systems of our relationship to the stars, as well as Western ancient um, wisdom traditions from around the world, along with the some of the we have three Abrahamic traditions, which are our traditional religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So I will be referencing these at different times. So that is also something to just bring in, because in order for us to get a very clear, or in order for us to get a glimpse, let's just say that, because it depends on how you can see it. Like, all pathways lead to divinity, or whatever your word is, to source, to the all, to the one, to, however words and terminology you use, it's that, and that this is really information just to expand on that. If you have a really powerful practice, I'm not saying change it. I'm saying add this to what you already know. Keep doing what you're doing. If your practice brings you peace and brings you into kindness and generosity within your own well-being, and you can be that to the world, that's what the world is needing right now. We're needing more and more of us to step into the world to be the example, especially because the world is chaotic right now. And people are really steeped into a lot of fear. And when we're in fear, when people are in fear, they will do things that they normally would never do. Because there's that something that lives within them. It's a survival mechanism that can, get triggered, and they will do something that they would never normally do. And it doesn't mean that that's evil. It just means that we're definitely walking amongst a lot of energy. And because the world is changing, and because so many more people are coming into a greater sense of consciousness, these dark forces are kind of more active than they've ever been before. And so talking about them, looking at them, normalizing them. I don't say that when I say normalizing, I'm not saying that, oh, it's okay for that to happen. It's just that when we can recognize it, we can say, oh, that's what's happening. What do I now need to do now that I'm aware of that? Again, that consciousness, expanding our consciousness, aware of it. I'm connected to it, I'm aware of it, and I can make some choices. I don't have to be reactive in fear. I can actually stop, think about it for a moment, make a conscious decision, and then respond. And that's the difference between reaction and response. Is one of them is just without thought, without awareness, forethought. The other one is really thinking about it for a second. Or at least, I say a second, but a couple seconds plus, right? So we are bridging the I with the all. We're going to be looking deep into the fabric of how all this conscious information is just constantly swirling all around us. We can see it in the physical, in particle form. We can feel it and connect into it in the unseen waveform. I'm going to deepen into really kind of talking about, in depth what a lot of this means, what the esoteric means, what the shamanic indigenous mean, but I invite you, reach out, ask those questions. What is it that you want to know? Now, I'm just a channel of information. I'll look certain things up. I don't know everything at this very, I'm also a student of the world. However, I've been gifted in having a life that has allowed me to do a lot of deep study around all of this. So, but I am very much part of it. I'm human. I have all the human experiences to go along with it. So we're in this together. We're just walking each other home, which is a beautiful quote by Ram Dass. Now, with that, I thank you very much for spending this time with me. We are at the end of our hour. You are welcome to reach out to me at the Facebook and Instagram, which is, I believe, connected at Andrea Dragonfly. With that, I wish you all a fabulous week into June. And I so deeply enjoy connecting with you and connecting into all that there is for us to deepen into a greater sense of our own knowing of the world around us. So with that, be well, farewell. I'll see you next week.
This has been Connected with your host, Andrea Dragonfly. Join Andrea each week on an extraordinary journey, exploring the consciousness of energy and how you are connected. Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.